And welcome, everyone. We're back. Another conference preview. Number 20, conference number 20 being discussed today out of 32. 13 conferences left. Very impressive. Or maybe 12. I don't know. Can't do the math there. How we doing, guys?
Doing awesome. Excited for some more mid-major hoops talk.
Yeah, doing well also. Just kind of got off a little heater off of the Dana White Contender Series, and I just turned on the MLB game, hoping that the Yankees lose. But other
they were
than that,
down 6-1.
Doing good.
They were down 6-1 indeed. The Mariners got it done for me. Let's go. We got baseball going on. We got college football starting back up tomorrow, so the days get a little closer for college football.
Do you guys play anything for tomorrow?
Not yet. I'll take a look.
I want to fire on Liberty.
So 20 out of 32 conferences. This is the Big South A-Sun preview. Last night did the CAA and A10, so we were all over the East Coast. Now we're going to be touching kind of the South A-Sun, play on the Sun, part of the United States, and then obviously the Big South in the South. Do you guys got any thoughts about this conference? I mean, I used to love the Big South and A-Sun as a mid-major conference growing up, but specifically I remember UNC Asheville with Kenny Atkins. I can't remember Kenny George. Sorry, 7'7" center. Winthrop had some solid teams as well, and then Atlantic Sun just always kind of a fun. I mean, East Tennessee State was one of them in the A-Sun, so it's kind of been all over the place. They used to have a really cool logo. Unfortunately, I had to use the modern logo. So, you guys, any thoughts on this conference? These conferences as a whole?
No, love them both. They're going to be fun as hell this year. Yet again, can never miss with a little A-Sun, Big Sun action or Big South action.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the last time kind of talking traditional A-Sun with kind of that alliance that they're having with the WAC. I know that we had originally talked about that and discussed that a little bit. But after this year, you're going to have that United Athletic Conference take over for the WAC. And you got Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama, and West Georgia going over there to the United Athletic Conference. And then the other 7 that we'll discuss here in a bit are going to stay in the Atlantic Sun. So curious to see who else that they bring in there in the A-Sun, just because there's only 7 right now, or those 7 members are going to stay. So I wonder if they reload with a couple of other teams. So we'll be kind of the last hoorah for that, but definitely excited to see going forward.
Yeah, so the A-Sun definitely joining the WAC here soon. So the United Athletic Conference will consist but the A-Sun will still be a thing, I believe.
Yes, it will. The other 7, so Bellarmine, Florida Gulf Coast, Jacksonville, Lipscomb, North Florida, Queens, and Stetson are all staying in the A-Sun. So curious to see.
So the United Athletic Conference will be Abilene Christian, Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama, Tarleton State, UT Arlington, and West Georgia. Interesting. The leagues will partner within a broadly defined I can't even say that. And both will have NCAA tournament automatic bids. So another conference there. A-Sun, fun. A lot of teams that like to run and gun. that we got to witness, and I think we're going to definitely be diving into the Sun first. I got my yellow on for the A-Sun, not for the Brewers, Trevor. All right, this is the Pump Fake Pod. This is the Pump Fake Pod at Pump Fake Pod. Make sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to haze us in the chat. This is Elliot Money at @IM_money, and Trevor at Stooley Picks, and then me, myself, and I, Michael_Huffer3, and then our Pump Fake Pod on our socials as well. So yeah, all of our conferences are recorded. Make sure to give us a like and follow and a watch on any prior conference previews. But first, let's live in the present. We got the A-Sun. We go alphabetically, and then we give all of our predictions and previews. And then a nice little graphic is made with all of the standings of our predictions for each conference as well. But Austin Peay, the Governors, out of Clarksville, Tennessee, last season 14-19, 8-10 in the A-Sun. But you do bring back 3 rotational returning starters under the Soldier. Corey Gibson, 33-35 2 years ago. He is not a Soldier, I don't think so. But Stolen Valor is that question always here as well. So, Gibson still has some of the squad from Northwestern State as well. And you do bring back at least Tate McCubbin, who averaged almost 11 points per game. He started 22 games last year. I think he's a solid player, and he's 6'8", and he's a sophomore, and he's coming back to Austin Peay, and he averaged 11.6 as a points per game as a freshman. You look out for him to be a potential player of the year here in the A-Sun. So you also have a redshirt senior in Anton Brookshire, so a little experience for the Govs as well. We know how Austin Peay likes to work. They like to have a kind of grind you out defensive style of play, get some rebounds, bang you out down low. Definitely some size advantage compared to other teams that we'll talk about here in the A-Sun. But yeah, I think they have some definite talent, bringing back some experience, and then also in some JUCO and D2 players as well that could shoot the ball. So bringing in some shooters, I think, was the missing piece that they were just missing last year. But defensively, they're always going to be good. And I mean, at least although we give Corey Gibson a lot of crap, at least he has his guys disciplined, always competitive. They were 14-19 last year, but that just doesn't quite say the whole story. So I like the Governors this year. I think they definitely can be a little better than last year. I just hope that their offense can translate.
Yeah, Austin Peay, 3 returning starters. Corey Gibson's back. They had a kind of a disappointing year last year, but they return a good chunk of those players from last year. So continuity that should serve them really well. I also forgot they're the team with the one-handed guy.
Yeah, Hansel.
Yeah, Hansel. Yeah, his name. I forgot they were they had him. So I love watching that dude play. But they had a lot of experience in the portal, but a lot of it's D2 players. So it's like you got older guys that have been successful, but they've been playing D2. So maybe the A-Sun's not the toughest conference to jump up to D1 in. So they could have some success, but it's a lot of younger or a lot of D2 and JUCO guys. So that could, we'll see how that goes. It could go one of 2 ways, but brought in some freshmen too. I kind of like Austin Peay this year. I don't think they're going to be god awful, but I want to see how this team with the transfers plays first. But I feel like they, if those guys figured out this could be a really successful team given the experience and success that those guys have had at D2. Now you got a good chunk of returning guys and them coming in. This could be a decent team this year, but they also have the ability to just be awful if none of them click.
Yeah, I think, Coach Gibson there. He definitely showed some success there in his first year, having that 19-win season, making the ASUN conference tournament championship for the first time. And he really saw a drop-off last year. He was kind of admittedly that he just failed to replace the players that he had brought from Northwestern State in that first year. He failed to bring those players that he missed. And so it didn't really translate last year. So he did a good job in the portal of getting those pieces and kind of replacing those players that he had lost like he hadn't done before. So I think they're back to maybe where they'll be after that first year with him under the helm. A couple guys that I like to mention, like you said, Trevor, a lot of them D2 NAIA ranks. Rashad Marshall, he comes from Arkansas State, averaged about 5 points, 5 rebounds a game. I think he could play a factor. And there's a couple freshmen that I'm pretty high on. Zyree Collins, he comes from St. Louis. He's actually Yuri Collins' younger brother. If you remember Yuri Collins, he was the point guard that led the NCAA in assists for the Billikens. So look out for him to kind of maybe possibly carve a role as a freshman. And another guy that I've kind of watched myself with my own eyes is Ja'Cory Robinson. He was the number 4 player out of Kansas, played at Highland Park there in Topeka, about 45 minutes away from me. 6'6" guy, really athletic, can score the ball. So I expect him to really be able to play at this level immediately. And he's one of those guys that I'm pretty high on that a lot of people maybe won't know just with him coming in as a true freshman. But I think he'll be a good piece for Coach Gibson. So, I think they really struggled last year just because he was missing some of those Northwestern State players that he had brought on that first year. And I think he learned his lesson. So I expect them to take a step forward and kind of bounce back from a disappointing year after that first year of success that he had.
Yeah, with the focus being on let's grind you out, let's get second chance opportunities, I think the pieces that they brought in are going to be just a solid addition to be a good little wrap on Austin Peay this year in 2025 for some improvement. The Governors. Bellarmine, the Knights, Louisville, Kentucky. Last season, 5-26 in the A-Sun, 2-16. Finished 12th last year. Very disappointing with 2 returning starters. And Doug Davenport, his first year, Bellarmine grad, actually. So, yeah, the Knights here, solid team. They beat Louisville, I believe, their first or second year in there. But, man, Bellarmine, grad Doug Davenport, so gets to bring some experience in with a new face as well, too, a whole new brand with some continuity, but not the best pieces that you return, in my opinion. So I don't know if I can be too high on Bellarmine here. I mean, I like their coaching staff. They got a lot of familiar faces, a lot of Louisville people, 2 Bellarmine grads, a Purdue grad, a Louisville grad, and then another Florida State grad. But I think they just lack talent as well too. But you're focusing on bringing in freshmen. You're bringing in a lot of young guys, I think. So the focus is not only now, it's also down the road for Galloway and what he's building at Bellarmine. I think he's definitely understands that this isn't quite win now mentality. This is win eventually, get them back to what it should be. But you play a tough non-conference schedule, so at least they're able to prepare come A-Sun play. But another team that's really going to be slow at pace, so I'm going to see how they gel with their new talent, bringing in their D2 and JUCO guys as well, and also their young guys. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel on Bellarmine. I think it's definitely going to be another transition year, but it's definitely going to be an improvement of a 5-26 season. So I think Galloway's going to have these Knights cooking here quite soon.
Yeah. 2 starters returning absolutely new head coach. So going to be a little bit different of a Bellarmine team that we're used to, but I still think they'll play similarly. But I wouldn't be shocked if he changes a few things up. But they added a bunch of size, but nothing really that stuck out to me from the portal. It's not like I don't know what to expect from them. So he got a bunch of different size and style players. So I don't know what they're going to really play. I'm not a huge fan of really what's on paper. So I'm not high on this Bellarmine team, just short and simple. Nothing about this team really excites me or inspires me.
Yeah, you mentioned, Coach Davenport, new coach there, graduate from Bellarmine. He's also the son of former coach Scott Davenport, who just finished a great career, 20 years there at Bellarmine, kind of had that transition period from D2 to D1, a record of 426 and 197. So successful year. He built a successful career, I should say. He built a successful program there. I would say one thing that I like about Bellarmine is just the fact of the culture that they've created. And I think, hiring his son to kind of follow in his footsteps just kind of further cements that they want to kind of stick with that culture. However, as we've seen these last 2 years, they've really struggled. 5-26 last year, and then about the same the year before. I don't have the record right in front of me, but I know they really struggled the year before. So I think this portal era has kind of caused some issues for them, and just kind of the way that they've built their culture. It was more of a bring guys in, have these guys that are going to fit their culture, develop them, and then when they're like that junior senior level, kind of when they first struck gold really at the D1 level, when they were really successful, they had those guys that were juniors and seniors. And now in the transfer portal, we're seeing these players that have success at this mid-major level. They transfer out before they're able to fully develop them and kind of get to where they want. But they bring back a few guys. Jack Karasinski, he's a big time player for them, averages 15.5 last year, shot about 39% from the three. I expect him to have big numbers. They did bring in a few guys from the higher majors ish. Brian Waddle from Purdue, and then Donovan Hunter from Kent State. Both didn't really play, but are guys that are kind of going to bounce back from, I think, a little bit higher leagues. Obviously, Purdue definitely higher, and then I think Kent State in the MAC definitely higher than this ASUN. But then, brought in a bevy of freshmen as well. So we'll kind of see how it translates. I think it's going to be, like you guys said, a struggle for this first year for Coach Davenport. But like I said, the thing that I'm really high on with Bellarmine is just the culture that they've built there, and that they're going to kind of continue to provide. And we know that's going to happen under the son, Coach Davenport. So we'll see. I don't expect them to really be very good this year. However, I do think they can definitely improve upon that 2-16 there in the ASUN.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely some pieces bright for the future. Shout out Dominique Murphy from East Chicago, which is in Indiana, by the way. All-time leading scorer at that high school. So some talent for sure, but definitely we'll see if they can make the hurdle right away. They're going to get thrown right in the fire with a tough non-conference schedule. So they're going to get prepared. We'll see how the apple far from tree coaching tree goes for Bellarmine this year, but definitely a bright future for the Knights to get back on track like they were when they first transitioned from D2. Oh, the Central Arkansas Bears out of Conway, Arkansas last season, 9-24, and the ASUN 4-14, tied for 10th, one returning starter under John Schulman. That was his first year last year. So a 9-24 for Schulman. How we feeling about Central Arkansas? They're probably one of the worst teams in the conference, I would say, talent-wise, even bringing back one returning starter. But they're going to be run and gun. They like to play fast. They're going to play with a lot of volatility, kind of shoot your lights out and hope for the best with their style of play. But you do bring back Cole McCormick, 6'6" sophomore wing, and then also Havion Guy King, which a rules infraction for NCAA sidelined him. Transfer from transfer from Little Rock. So he's going to have some playing power this year and going to be added to that starting lineup. And then Florida Atlantic transfer Ty Robinson, Trev. So some talent for sure for the Bears. I think it's going to be an improvement from last season. I think this is going to be one of those conferences that we talk about where the lower end teams at the bottom are still gonna have more wins than they did last year. Not really 5 and 9 win teams, maybe closer to the 10-11 margin, which is still not a great season, but more wins than last year. So I like this Central Arkansas team. They're definitely going to still have that run and gun mentality under Schulman, and I think they're going to have a little more wins. They have decent talent. We'll see how it fits for year 2 under Schulman. So I think they definitely have a familiarity, like we like to talk about. I like to talk about for sure, and they're going to have a lot of shooters in that backcourt.
Yeah, speaking of familiarity, you had mentioned Javion Guy King. He's actually been at Central Arkansas for the last 3 years. That he's from Little Rock, Arkansas. But the year before he was out last year because of that rules infraction. But the year before he averaged 7.3 rebounds for UCA. So he's familiar with the program. So he's been there for 3 years. Another guy that kind of is returning that I'm excited for UCA is Cameron Hunter. He was the ASUN freshman of the year in 21-22 at UCA. Averaged 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And now he comes back kind of grass isn't always greener type of a deal. Was very successful there at the mid-major level for Central Arkansas, transferred out and didn't really see the playing time. So now he's going to be returned back to Central Arkansas, and I expect for him to definitely play a big role. So him and Javion Guy King, I'm definitely high on. A couple other guys that I'm high on as well. Cole McCormick, he averaged 8 points a game last year. And then Ty Robinson, he's a guy who only played 2 games last year due to injury. That was a big thing for them last year. Coach Schulman kind of drew a tough straw. At one time, 5 of their top 6 players were injured at the same time. So they just were bit by the injury bug pretty hard last year. And hopefully if they're able to avoid that and get a little bit luckier on that injury front, I really expect them to definitely take a step up and definitely improve upon their record from what it was last year in his second year at the helm.
Yeah. One returning starter, like you said, they had an injury bug. They get 3 of those guys back this year completely. So that'll be a huge add. They added 3 senior transfers, one from Wisconsin, and then like Cameron Hunter, I believe it was, and then 2 D2 kids. So they brought in a little bit of experience there. But other than that, majority of this roster is going to be D2 or freshman players. So, how are they going to figure this out? I do like what they have, especially adding a little bit of experience and whatnot, and in a decent amount of guard play and experience from the portal. But I'm just curious how majority of this team's going to work out, jumping up to D1 basketball, and then you're going to have 4 guys returning from last year. One was a starter, 3 are off injuries, and then it's just portal guys. So I'm curious to see how they are. I think they'll be decent. I don't think they're going to be really anything to write home about at the end of the day. But to get some of these guys back next year, I think that they could definitely be an improved team. But it's just too much roster maneuvering, adding new players and whatnot, and kind of banking on some D2 talent that might hurt them at the end of the day.
All right, some improvements for the Bears here. We like for the Pump Fake Pod, but how big is that step? It can't be ginormous. The Eastern Kentucky Colonels out of Richmond, Kentucky last season, 18-14, 12-6 in the A-Sun. 2 returning starters under A.W. Hamilton, 122 and 107 in his 7-year tenure. And I believe last season they opened a new gym. We definitely bet on that. So they're always a fun team to bet on in the A.W. Hamilton world. So another run and gun style team that we love to watch in the A-Sun. And I'm going to make it my mission to get to Richmond, Kentucky this year. And maybe even Western Kentucky. So just hit the little Kentucky random colleges. But I like this Eastern Kentucky team. A.W. Hamilton's been able to work the portal pretty nicely. And, they're gonna force you, kind of like a warrior mentality basketball, just press, run up tempo, and force you at the glass. They force you down low. They force you to shoot the ball. They know your weaknesses. They're a really good, well-coached team. And I think their system overall for the Colonels that we know and love for Eastern Kentucky has got to work. So Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Colonels recipe, has been working for A.W. Hamilton. And, I think they beefed up a little bit. They added some experience with their returning starters and a couple returning role players as well. You have Jackson Holt, who shot almost 40% from three as well. And he definitely struggled at the beginning of the season. And then you bring in a couple freshmen as well too. So and then also an NCAA tournament player last year for Juan Cranford Jr., the NEC St. Francis going to Eastern Kentucky, and Alabama State transfer hopping over as well. And then again, a lot of freshmen that averaged 20 points in high school. I think that's a good thing. So Eastern Kentucky is going to be good in my book yet again. Just their program alone and the system under A.W. Hamilton is always fun to watch and trustworthy. I think they're just going to be fine. Even after kind of an underwhelming season last year, even though they still went 12-6 and 18-14.
Yeah. Where's my Eastern Kentucky? Yeah, returning two starters, losing Kimbrell and Blanton's huge. That was like 35 points a game, 10 rebounds. However many assists and whatnot from them. I know Kimball was like almost 3 steals a game alone too. So that's a lot to lose on the defensive and offensive end right there. So that's going to be tough. But brought in a bunch of freshmen, lower to mid-major players with D2 transfers. How are they all going to mesh together? I mean, that much roster turnovers, it definitely sucks. But, I think they got talent on this team. I like what they brought back. They plugged the hole for at least losing Kimball, at least obviously probably not going to do as much as he did with his 18 points and 3 turnovers a game. But, as long as they can get half of that out of him, that's going to be huge. So getting size, they'll be a force in the paint a little bit, keeping guys out, making them uncomfortable shots, making them kick it out for jump shots. So I don't mind Eastern Kentucky this year. I think they're going to be a better team than last year. Personally, or they have the ability to. If not, they'll kind of hover around. But I do think they have the pieces in place to make a little bit of a step forward here for the KFC secret recipe Colonels.
Yeah, you'd mentioned Huff, one of the transfers to Alabama State, Amar Knox, averaged 14.5 points, 2 rebounds there. Curious to see how that kind of style of play in the SWAC really can kind of translate for Hamilton's team. But I'm really high on Turner Buttrey. He's a point guard, averaged 8 points, 2 assists, shot 40% from the 3. He's a guard that's came back from them last year. I think he's just going to take another step forward this year. One of the big things that I kind of noticed is Hamilton. He really loves kind of the portal grind. He's been here for 7 years, but before that, he was at kind of a military institute school. So he really had to he's had no problem of losing people, gaining people, losing people, gaining people, and finding the pieces that fit. Just because that was kind of the nature of the beast of where he was at before. So it was almost like he was already keen to how the portal works before there was even a portal. And, in today's portal age, it's pretty crazy the type of players that these mid-majors can bring in. Tyler Jackson, you had mentioned the freshman that they brought in. I'm high on 2 of them. Tyler Jackson, he's actually the number 76th in the class of 2025. So the 76th ranked recruit will be at Eastern Kentucky. He kind of decided to go there. I was looking it up a little bit because I was kind of curious if there was any connections, but he kind of wanted to go there because he saw some of the success that some of those guards had there at Eastern Kentucky in that first and second year of development, where they've then been able to trampoline to a Power 5 school and really had success. So just shows the respect that these players have for A.W. Hamilton and how he can really kind of develop those young players. And then another one is MJ Williams. He's Mr. Basketball out of North Carolina. You would never think that a team out of Kentucky would be able to get Mr. Basketball from North Carolina as a freshman recruit. But, in this portal age, that's just kind of how it happens. So I think Hamilton did a great job in the portal of getting players that fit his style of play, but also with extreme talent that he can develop even further. He knows that they're probably only going to be there for 1-2 years. He said, he's like, in a couple years, there's going to be people that say, how did we get those two guys? Because they shouldn't have came to this lower level. But, here we are. So I expect them to have an immediate impact. So I'm pretty high on the Colonels here, especially with that new stadium, the Baptiste Health Arena. So looking forward to maybe meeting up with you, Huff, there if you decide to go.
Yeah, you're not coming with. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, looking forward to that. We'll have to
I'll
meet there.
Raymond, that's fine.
Maybe Western Kentucky will be the meeting point because that'll be a little somewhat of a midway point versus going to Eastern Kentucky. So yeah, I like I said, I wanted to do those tours of the lower majors. And hey, Elliot, would you join me in Youngstown State?
Hell yeah.
Wonderful. Florida Gulf Coast, such a fun program. The Eagles out of Fort Myers. I know that's spelled wrong. Last season, 19-15, 13-5 in the A-Sun. I think with the not so talented team as well, you bring back one returning starter under Pat Chambers, 50-48, who coached at Penn State. College basketball legend Pat Chambers. He really worked with what he got last year, and I think they did pretty well. So the shooters that they had, I think that was really a struggle. And I think they're definitely going to be much better on both sides of the ball. Hopefully improving, essentially going back to what they were, that run and gun kind of Dunk City team that we know. So, but wasn't that under Pat Chambers at all. I think they knew that they had to limit possessions last year just because they lacked the kind of shooters that and just athleticism that we've known for the Eagles. So it'll be interesting to see what they have. I think they definitely bring in some solid pieces as well. So that's always good. And you bring back Ramir Barno as well, who had a hand injury. So that's good to be added pieces, and you're going to have a lot of more role players kind of stepping into bigger roles. So it'll be interesting to see if they go a little younger. They go with the transfers that they brought in, of course, and then those role players kind of are going to have to step into, a sixth man or even the starting lineup. So yeah, I like Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, they're a program. I think Chambers is a great coach as well too. I think they're going to be at the top half of the A-Sun, but kind of more towards the middle, just again like last year. But they definitely overexcelled with working with what they got last year. So I think that could continue for the momentum for the Eagles, and with a good preparation and a non-con as well.
Yeah, only one starter returning. You lost Kelman and Johnson hurt, losing that was almost 30 points a game, 10 rebounds also there between those two. So that'll be a tough hole to plug. But yeah, like you said, Barno's back from injury, and he was a pretty important piece. So getting him back will be huge. But just added a lot of, I feel like high upside players out of the portal. If those guys can all come together or play up to their talent level, could be a really, really good team, in my opinion. But if they don't, and they got to start going to try other options, it's all freshmen on this team, which could really make it to be a long year. So I'm kind of with you. I kind of see them more towards the middle, just because I could see them clicking and being a really good team, but I could also see them, all right, portal guys aren't clicking, still figuring things out. And then now you gotta throw freshmen in there to try something new, or just ride it out if the transfer's not working, you just want to wait for it to click. So I'm going to put them in the middle. I like Pat Chambers. He's a solid coach, but a lot of pieces to or a lot of points to replace in production. And if you can get some of that back and get your transfers and whatnot playing together, this could be a good team, or it could be a really long year for Gulf Coast Dunk City.
Yeah, I think a lot of the factor with Florida Gulf Coast here is going to be how the guys that were there last year that step up for them. You know, they return 7 players from last year's team. A lot of them didn't provide that
There's a
production.
lot of role players. Yep.
You
Yep.
had you had mentioned Ramir Borno. I'm just going to point out he was the starting point guard for them before he got injured. They were actually 8-2 in ASUN play, and then they went 5-3 after he was injured with that hand injury. You know, he's a guy that kind of stuffs the stats, averages 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. 1.5 steals. So a guy that kind of does it all. So I think that he's going to be kind of the engine of the ship. But a couple guys that I expect to step up from last year is Michael Duax. He's another guy that had played significant minutes, averaged about 7 points, 4.5 rebounds. And then Rory Stewart, another guy, averaged about 6.5 points, 3 rebounds, shot 40% from the 3. So those 3 guys that came that were playing significant minutes last year, I expect them to kind of take that next step forward and play even more minutes. And then there's a few other guys that I think were able to get some minutes when they were injured, with some of the injuries. Jack Reddick, he was a guard. I expect for him to maybe carve out a bigger role. And then one of the guys that I'm really high on this year is Tristan Guillet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but when Keyshawn Kelman, I know with the loss of him, like Trevor had mentioned, but when he was out actually in the CBI, Guillet went for 12-9 there in the CBI in the semifinal game. So I think that gave him a little bit of confidence going on to this season that he can kind of carve out that role. And then they added, 2 transfers that I'm kind of somewhat high on. J.R. Koneski from Notre Dame, and then George Washington III. He came over from Richmond in Michigan. So we'll see kind of how they translate to the team. But another guy that I'll shout out, speaking of freshmen, I know I'd mentioned the freshman at Eastern Kentucky, but Jordan Ellerby, he's going to be a freshman guard, came from Pennsylvania. And if anybody knows about Pennsylvania basketball, he was the MVP of the Philadelphia Catholic League. And that's a very high-level league. A lot of high-level talent comes out of inner-city Philadelphia, especially in that Philadelphia Catholic League. They recruit like hell. So he was the Pennsylvania Player of the Year, but also the MVP of that Catholic League that I'm really high on, that produces a lot of good players. So I think he's going to make an immediate impact as well. He's another one of those guys that I wouldn't have ever expected Florida Gulf Coast to be able to get coming out of high school, but here we are in this transfer portal era.
Here we are in this transfer portal era. It couldn't be more true. What a time. What a time. And bingo, I did the Excel sheet split. Let's go. The Jacksonville Dolphins out of Jacksonville, Florida, Swisher Gymnasium, baby. Last season, 19-14, 12-6 in the A-Sun. 1 returning starter under Jordan Mincy, who was 69-57. 4 years for Jacksonville. Talk about ground and pound style of play. Slow tempo. Definitely not at the Dolphins' pace, but I like this Jacksonville team. They definitely excelled last year. Surprised a lot of those experts that we like to say, for sure. But you do lose a lot of pieces, which is interesting. But you bring back an all freshman team player in Chris Arias last year, who almost averaged 7 points per game, which is a lot for Jacksonville and kind of that system that they operate in. And then also you have a senior who tore their ACL last season, unfortunately, Simon Wheeler. So he could be a good backcourt addition for the Dolphins. I think they're definitely going to be backcourt focused, just with the style that they play under Mincy. And a lot of younger guys, a couple freshmen in Hayden Wood, Michael Harper. So focusing on the future as well for the Dolphins, not necessarily just win now, which is good for these kind of conferences and wherever the hell that they're going. But they will be A-Sun kept. So look out for Jacksonville and the A-Sun. I think they're still going to be flirty this year as well. I like the Dolphins. I think the style that they play is just a winnable system. Like I mentioned under Mincy, and he really went and not only didn't really dive into the portal much, but focused on going into recruits as well too. So I think that's always important. And I enjoy that for these kind of programs. So shout out Mincy for doing that, and we'll see how he gets his other guys going as well. I'll shout out Tito Dang as well, 6'11" junior. He averaged only 2 points per game, but 6'11", come on, you can get him to work. And he even is kind of decent from three. So look out for Tito Dang, baby, for the Dolphins.
Yeah. No returning starters, but I like what they brought in the portal talent wise with potential. It's a lot of talented players. Just how are they going to step up, and will they what's the word I'm looking for? Maintain, not maintain. I don't know. Will they keep the talent up? I know they were talented in high school and have the potential, but coming up here, we'll see how everything transitions. But Mincy did a great job of improving his team year after year, and now he's got a lot of players that I think have high upside and potential to be great players. So I'm fairly high on this Jacksonville team too. I think they're gonna have potential to kind of shock people a little bit and make some noise in the A-Sun here and compete. So I'm high on Jacksonville this year.
You do bring a transfer in from Oakland, a transfer in from Boise State, but also focused on the young guys and recruiting. I think is a major center point for Mincy as well. Elliot, round us off for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be hard. One of my favorite players, Robert McCray, the fifth. I was about to say junior, but Robert McCray the fifth. Losing all that production that he was able to be for the best player on Jacksonville's team the last 2 years. He's ventured off to play his final season at Florida State, so that'll be kind of a cool homecoming experience when Jacksonville visits Florida State this year, and they get to play against him. You had just mentioned one of the transfers that. Came from Boise State. What was that? What was his name?
I got it right
Junior.
here.
Chris Lockett Jr. Is that
Chris Lockett Jr.? Correct.
So Chris Lockett Jr. is kind of who Coach Mincy thinks can kind of fill that role. He expects him to play kind of like that McCray type of a style and be that guy for Jacksonville. I do think that they're coming off some injuries, as you had mentioned, with Simon Wheeler coming back from that ACL, but also Enrico Borio. He was shooting greater than 50% from the field and the three in 13 games last year, but then he broke his elbow, so he'll be back. So I think that he's going to be a piece. He's already been within the system, was playing at an efficient high level, but then unfortunately had that injury. And then another guy I'll shout out, Anakin Brown, son of D Brown, who was a staple there, 12-year NBA vet, played at Jacksonville as well. So he's coming off hip surgery. So we'll see how he can kind of translate. I know when I was looking at some of the things, I was watching an interview and Coach Mincy said that he wasn't able to be released from his hip surgery until like way closer to the beginning of August than what he had thought. So it might be kind of a slow progression forward for him, but he's somebody to maybe keep an eye out for when A-Sun play comes around. And then if you want to talk about size, we can also talk about size. I'll mention to you Charles Caparoso, Coffeyville Community College here in Kansas, 7-foot lefty. Look out for him. So not only do they got that 6'11" kid, they also have that 7-footer with some size. And then we talk about the all names team. Jason Thirdkill. He's a D2 transfer from William Jewell, just actually 35 minutes north of me, D2 here in Missouri. Averaged 17.7 rebounds, shot 38% from the three. So we'll see if that can maybe translate to the D1 level. But yeah, I think there's some pieces if they can stay healthy. They're definitely going to miss McCray, but they've definitely reloaded and have the talent to be one of those teams near the top of the A-Sun yet again.
All right, roll up a Swisher Gymnasium. We're moving on. Shout out Jacksonville, the Dolphins. Lipscomb Bison out of Nashville on Broadway and Tennessee last season, 25-10, 14-4 in the A-Sun, tied for first. One returning starter and a new look. Kevin Carroll stepping in for Lenny Acuff, but they have ties together. He went to Berry College where Lenny Acuff was the coach for Kevin Carroll. Kevin Carroll went to Lipscomb's basketball camps as a younger kid. So there's a lot of ties for the Bison. And he holds that trip fondly because it kind of instilled a lot of things for and his love for basketball, I guess. But yeah, whole new look for the Bison, first year coach. I think it's going to be maybe not like what we saw last year. I'm kind of curious to see the style of play that they have. I think that's going to be up and maybe familiar to what it was last year, but just not as run and gun. But with just the similarity to how Acuff's system is, I got to think that he translates that. But a lot of guys that I think are just maybe not the most talented, but a lot of role player guys that if they spread the floor, get a lot of pieces working together, I think that they can get gelling by come February and March. So tons of pieces for Lipscomb. I think they definitely have talent. And he's got some big shoes to fill for the Bison. They were a solid team, as we saw last year with that record. And tons of international recruits and also some portal players and freshmen coming in. So I think there's tons of diversity and versatility on this team. So curious to see what style of play they bring for the Bison under first year coach Kevin Carroll. But I think they're going to be good, just around the middle of the pack in the A-Sun, and a good first year under Kevin Carroll.
Yeah, I got Lipscomb taking a decent step back. I mean, you got one returning starter, entirely new head coach. I mean, there's some players that came back, so they'll be looking to take a step forward. But you got those guys that are coming back, doing it with a new coach, and then you have a bunch of transfers and whatnot. I think it could be a little bit of a struggle for Lipscomb to kind of figure it out and get it going this year. They do have the talent, so if they do click, if they buy into the system and they learn that they could be a good team, but I don't really see that happening too much, given everything's completely new, new transfers coming in, and then those returning players having to learn a new coach and new teammates out of the portal. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a struggle. So, could they be good? Yes, and if they are, then I think they're going to be really good, kind of middle of the pack, kind of like what you said, but they're not going to be contending or winning 25 games again this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, I think you guys are kind of right with, taking a step back. I know Raymond in the chat thinks it's going to be a huge step back, but I'll kind of hit the brakes a little bit. I think that maybe we're going to be in for a little surprise from Coach Carroll in his first year. I feel like, a lot of people don't really know kind of his pedigree and kind of just how good of a coach he is. I mean, he came from before the last 2 years at Trevecca Nazarene. It was a D2. He was actually the assistant coach under why can I think of Lenny Acuff. So he knows some of these players. There's a few reasons why Grant Osmond, Charlie Williams, he's the only starter returning. A couple of those guys came back specifically because Coach Carroll rejoined the team. He'd already previously coached them. They're at Lipscomb, and then you look at kind of his pedigree of coaching. He took over a Trevecca Nazarene team that was 2-24. Took over them in his first year. They were 16-13. In his second year, they were 19-10 and set the program record in wins for a season. So the fact that he was able to do that so quickly and have a good turnaround in a program like that at the D2 level is pretty impressive for me. So the familiarity with Lipscomb already, and just the fact that he's able to, obviously get a lot out of his players and be a good coach to be able to make that kind of a transition and such of a steep kind of a quick turnaround in that program there. I really expect that while they may, yes, take a step back, I would ease the brakes and say they're not going to maybe take as big of a step back as you think. Couple guys that I like from them. You guys had mentioned some of the starters, or the returners. I'll just mention a few guys that are coming in. One of those is Mateo Esmeraldo. He was the point guard there at Trevecca, averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds. I think he's going to be a key guy for them. Obviously familiar with Coach Carroll's philosophy, along with the 3 guys that resume that were coached under Carroll there at Lipscomb. Lipscomb. And then there's a couple freshmen that they brought in. Kennedy Okpara, he's the younger brother of Felix Okpara there at Tennessee. So, obviously maybe not the same talent level, but he's obviously going to be that size and have that athleticism that Felix brings there at Tennessee. So I expect that to kind of translate pretty well at the mid-major level. And then Or Ashlanasi, he is a guy from Israel, and he was actually getting looks from Kentucky, Auburn, K-State. I actually looked up some of his film here in the offseason just because K-State was possibly going to sign him before they went in a different route. So the fact that they were able to sign him and he was getting such high major looks shows that he's brought in some talent as well. So I expect them to take a step back, but maybe not as much as other people think.
Yeah, I forgot they got, was that 3 or 4 international players coming in. So that's a huge get for them, but it's just a lot of new pieces and whatnot. I'm kind of worried about them.
Yeah, don't put the words in people's mouths. I think Lipscomb's just the program itself. They got NIL money. I think they'll be just fine under first-year coach Kevin Carroll. But yeah, Tony Pujols will be just fine because you see that they're building it. The North Alabama Lions out of Florence, Alabama, last season 24-11, tied for first, 14-4, one returning starter. He's building it. Some down years. Now they're finally starting to win. Starting to see, the program being built under the A Sun. With one returning starter for the Lions coming back, and Kanan Jefferson, 6'2" junior. So he was a solid piece. Freshman Braylon Patton from Alabama, so some ties there definitely. You're going to bring in some JUCO players as well, and Keeter Bodie, 22 points per game he averaged. So a lot of young guys are going to have to rely on, and almost some vengeance, I would say, coming back, as they fell short of an NCAA tournament bid. So I think that there's definitely going to be some, hey, we're here to party, we're here to stay. And Tony Pujols is a great coach, and he's bringing in talent, a ton of JUCO talent as well. So and a lot of younger guys. So I think they're one of the most talented, a lot of size, one of the better front courts. We'll see if they can match in the transition with the back court, but a lot of depth with all those JUCO players that mentioned. So I like North Alabama here. I think they're going to be at the top of this conference, no problem.
Yeah, Tony Pujols, great coach. They got 9 scholarship players returning, and they're only one starter, but the 9 scholarship players are huge. Guys that were here last year know what it takes, and are hungry to carve out roles and actually get some playing time. So that's huge. They did lose 4 double-digit scores, so that's brutal. But getting that Howell kid back off of injury, it's going to be a nice piece in the replacement. 3 of those guys that had left were 1,000-point scorers for North Alabama, so that's a lot of offense to figure out in a year. But having all these guys come back is kind of a big deal. So I'm a big fan of that. But they brought in a lot of size for down low at the 4 and 5 position, so they can bang in the paint, get some rebounds, make things uncomfortable for teams. So big fan of that, and they've just got the pieces given what's returned. So I like this UNA team. I think they're going to be good just because they lost those 3 guys. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think they'll actually be one of the better teams at filling those roles and plugging those holes of that they lost this offseason. So I like UNA. I think they're going to be solid yet again under Mr. Pujols.
Yeah, I think that one returning starter is a little bit deceiving. You had mentioned the size. They definitely have 3 returning pieces that were 3 forwards that he's really high on that they had last year that are returning for this year. One in particular, Dallas Howell. He averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds last year, but then had a ACL injury. So they get him back fully healthy. Another guy is Cornelius Williams. He's a redshirt junior, 6'9" forward, averaged almost 10 points, 10 rebounds, was the leading ASUN rebounder last year. So, he's high on those two, and he's also high on Dante Bacchus. He's another guy, 6'7" forward. Kind of Pujols kind of toyed and said in some of his interviews that he's excited to have Hal and Bacchus together on the floor. Bacchus is another guy, averaged 8 points, 4 rebounds, and actually shot 47% or almost 47% from the three. I was disappointed that Jakari Lane left for Texas A&M. I really wish he would have been able to stay. They kept him for 3 years, surprisingly. I'm not sure how they did that. I'm happy for him, though, that he went and got his bag at Texas A&M. Well-deserved. I just would have liked to see him stay for a 4th year, something that's really rare in today's portal era. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that North Alabama has a reason to stay at the top. Tony Pujols is a great coach. He's kind of proven that despite the lack of funding that they've had, he's been able to bring in talent, but also retain some talent that could have left. And I think that just shows the respect that the players have for him and his coaching style and philosophy. So I would expect UNA to finish near the top yet again. If not, fight for a title.
I'll tell you who's not fighting for a title. North Florida, the Ospreys out of Jacksonville, Florida last season, 15-17, 8-10 out of the ASUN, 0 returning starters. I think it's going to be a rough year for first-year coach, not some beginner's luck, and they're not sleepy whatsoever. I think they are the least talented team in the ASUN. They're definitely going to be struggling. But, you do bring back some people and retain some players and some people in the backcourt like Cameron Oriole, who off the bench averaged 8 points per game. And then some role players like we always talk about that have to take that next jump into a more prominent role in Mason Lee and Dante Oliver and Devin Hines as well, coming in from Lafayette. Kent Jackson from Jacksonville coming in, and then some freshmen as well. I think talent-wise, it just doesn't wow me. A lot of guys that can't really score the ball, and I think down low they're going to really struggle, and they lack kind of the most depth in this conference as well. I mean, a good program though. They've always been a good program, but last year was rough, and now I think this is going to be a rebuilding year for sure. Where we're going to see some strides out of the Ospreys, but consistently going to be bad.
Yeah. North Florida, yeah, no returning starters at all. And then your head coach is a first ever year head coach too. So there's going to be some, potential growing pains or figuring it out period throughout this year. And it's a very young team. They got depth, but everybody's young as hell on this team. So you're bringing in a first-year head coach, first-year coaching, at least D1, and then you got a bunch of young guys that are going to be coming into this roster to try to make an impact that could make for a long season for North Florida, trying to get things going. But when you bring in that many new pieces, including your coach, I think it could take a season of figuring things out and kind of trial by fire here. To get things going. So they've got potential based on, these young talent that's brought in. But I think the challenges of the year of trying to, figure out how to coach a D1 team, and then these freshmen coming in that are going to be expected to play and try to make an impact could make it for a long year. But and then got to figure out your identity. So I'm not too high on North Florida, but they can, do respectable this year and maintain some of this roster. I think this North Florida team could take a significant step next year, but this year I think it's kind of just stepping stones, figuring it out, trial by fire kind of year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely. I'll just foreshadow this. I've got them at the bottom of the conference. I'm going to continue my thank you tour and just thank North Florida for giving us Matt Driscoll, signed with K-State as the associate head coach after Ulrich Maligi left. So I'm excited to have him on the staff here at K-State. I like what he did. He's the all-time leader in ASUN wins, 3-time ASUN coach. He was there for 16 years. He actually, one of his first hires at North Florida was Keenan or Kennan. I think it's Kennan. I don't know. But like Raymond says in the chat, I just think it's going to be kind of a prove it year for them. He's kind of a stopgap. They lost Driscoll in May, so they didn't really have enough time to really do a full kind of head coach search. So they've kind of tagged him as an interim head coach for this year. I don't see him lasting more than this year. I think it was kind of more of a stopgap, as Raymond says in the chat. So yeah, with the pressure of him being an interim coach, the pressure's on to kind of prove it. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to do so. Like you mentioned, Cameron Royal came off the bench. He is the only one of the top 8 scorers from last year that's back. You look at the portal pieces that they added. They didn't really add much talent. You've got a couple guys that redshirt that maybe they're a little high on. I think maybe they have some talent there in the backcourt. However, like you said, Huff, I agree. They definitely lack front court depth, but just front court talent in general. So I expect North Florida to be at the bottom of the ASUN this year.
All right. Good program, though. Love this team. Love that logo with the Q into the Royal. The Queens Royals out of Charlotte, North Carolina, 20-15, 11-7 in the ASUN with 2 returning starters under a great coach in Grant Leonard, 52-49 in his 4th year here. If they make an NCAA tournament in their first eligible season of making the NCAA tournament, what a run. It's almost like algebra and variables. There's got to be, in a function itself, there's got to be variables inside of the function, and the variables in NCAA tournament bid. Well, guess what? They have the chance to do that, and I think they have one of the most talented teams possible to do that as well. They bring back Chris Ashby, the only a player from the All Conference last year. Now you're coming there. You're coming back for another season. Familiar with the ASUN and how it operates. You're probably a Player of the Year candidate already as well. And then you also bring in some solid transfers from Georgia Southern, a Valparaiso transfer, a Cal transfer as well. So some solid pieces added as well as retained for the Royals. So I think this is one of the most talented teams. And like I said, variable inside the function, NCAA tournament bid is upon us, and they definitely have a chance to do that. So I think this Queens a talent is definitely going to be popping, and they're going to be flying right into the ASUN championship.
Yeah, big fan of Queens. Grant Leonard's back. 2 starters are back, and they can finally get to the tournament. So a little extra built-in motivation for Queens and Grant Leonard this year. So 5 returning players total. Required a lot of talent and size in the portal, along with a great freshman class. So this team's, they brought in talent that can produce and has produced, and then they've also got a great talented freshman class that, if needed to step up, and they could make an impact. They definitely have the ability to do that. So they gotten better year after year under Leonard, and this on paper is probably the most talented and deep war-ready team that he's had for the D1, and it's just in the nick of time since they are eligible to go dancing this year. So I think there's a lot of motivation in this team. The new guys coming in know Queens has been a successful program since getting called up, and have, returned 5 total players, and 2 of them started. So I think this team is really going to be motivated and going to be solid this year. I'm really high on Queens. The motivation alone, I think, is enough to do it for me. But given what's brought back, coaches back, and some talented freshmen, I think this Queens team could be really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. And the 2 starters they bring back, like you guys had said, Chris Ashby, and then the other one is point guard Bryce Cash. So you bring back 2 kind of veteran guards. That's always going to be bode well for you, just to bring back veteran guard play, guys that are going to handle the ball and be able to kind of be primary ball handlers and scorers for them. I mean, Chris Ashby, he shot he made 115 threes last year, which would have been 9th in the country if they weren't in that reclassification period. I'm just super excited for Queens that they were able to get that it's supposed to be a 4-year reclassification, and the NCAA actually was able to decrease it by a year. So actually they were supposed to still be in the reclassification this year. So I'm so glad that they were able to do that reclassify. Happy for them. One of the transfers I'll just mention is Carson Schweiger. Actually, you got to watch him up close and personal. I talked a lot about him and his brother there at Valparaiso last year. They actually play about 20 minutes down the road from me at Blue Valley Southwest. I think he's going to be an immediate impact transfer for this Queens team. I think that Valparaiso kind of didn't utilize them as much as they should have last year as a freshman. So I think, the impact of Avante Parker, Gus Larson, the Cal transfer, and Carson Schweiger, they're going to rely on them heavily to produce right away. And I think that they're going to be able to produce. And then, Trevor, you mentioned that freshman class, Jordan Watford, he's a 6'5" 4-star, one of the top 100 guards in the 2025 class. And then Isaiah Henry, overtime elite product, coach there, he calls him the mini Charles Barkley. So had a bunch of Power 5 offers. So just shows kind of the talent that Queens is bringing in as well. And like you guys said, the motivation of now that they can finally get to the NCAA tournament, it's something that they've been wanting these last 3 years. And I think it's they're on that upward trajectory. So I do think that they're going to finish definitely higher than 6th and take that next step forward in this first year of Division I eligibility.
And they've always been a good team since taking that jump as well too. And now some continuity and all D1 players on the roster as well too. All right, the penultimate team in the conference. The Stetson Mad Hatters out of Deland, Florida, last season 8-24, 6-12 in the ASUN, finished 9th. 2 returning starters under Donnie Jones, who was 86-102 in his 7th year for the Hatters. I think they definitely have more talent than they did. You win the ASUN not too long ago. That's what happens. People leave. It's that day and age. And I think Stetson definitely has somewhat of a talent and a lot of pieces that they can go to. Just trying to figure out which piece is going to be the center stone and centerpiece of their offense and defense, because they have a lot of pieces. They have a lot of talent. And I think it's now just finding out which fits into the mold. So I think this is a wild card team, 100% a wild card team. And I would look out for Stetson being able to win some games, flirty behavior, but they're going to be kind of stuck in that bottom half of the conference for sure for me.
Yeah, Stetson, one returning player, but the one returning is their top scorer. So that's a nice snag back for Stetson here. But a bunch of transfer signees late in the offseason too. They were dealing with figuring out who's transferring, who's staying, and all this. So they really finalized that roster late in the season, which could be a detriment, having to figure out your chemistry and everything else on a shorter schedule versus everyone else. So we'll see how that figures out for this team. But they're going to have shooters on the outside and inside. But the one thing I've noticed is their size on the inside is going to be lacking a little bit for given this conference for what everyone else does have. So I think Stetson will kind of just be all right. I don't think they're going to find themselves contending like they were last year or the year prior, but I think they'll still be a decent team. They have the ability, but I think their defense is going to struggle, especially inside. I think this is probably a team that gets to a lot of overs. They can score the bucket, but I think their defense is going to be lacking. So circling them for potential overs. But other than that, I just kind of really worry about their defense as the focal point that'll be struggling.
Yeah, I think Huff, you brought up a good point. When Stetson won that ASUN conference tournament 2 years ago, they lost all of those players. All of those players transferred, and they transferred late in that portal window. So Coach Jones there had to bring in a lot of people late, and I think that's why they struggled last year. But then again, you look at it, and a lot of those people that he brought in last year also left. So now he's kind of back to the wheel, spinning that wheel, trying to find something that sticks for him. Trev, you mentioned that starting the one starter, Jamie Phillips. He's going to have to play an even bigger role than what he had last year, averaging 11 points a game. I think he kind of went to the JUCO ranks this year in hopes that it kind of played well for him. Ethan Copeland is a JUCO guard, averaged 15.5 points there from Salt Lake Community College. I think from everything that I saw and kind of doing some research, they're expecting him to kind of take over one of the starting guard spots. So kind of look for him to play a big role for Stetson. I think it's going to be yet another down year unless they can get lucky with a few of these JUCO players and some of these young players can step up. I'm not sure if, I think the winning that ASUN conference tournament really did them in. I think it's going to almost be like that one step forward, two steps back. I think it's kind of that one season forward, 2 seasons back. And then maybe next year when they get a little bit older and if they can keep some of those pieces, I think we'll see them maybe take a little step forward. So I would expect a similar showing from them this year there in the ASUN.
And the final team here in the Atlantic Sun, West Georgia, the Wolves out of Carrollton, Georgia, last season 6-25, 4-14 in the ASUN, tied for 10th, but 3 returning starters under Dave Moore, who was a proven winner just before taking the jump into D1. So I think they don't quite have eligibility, but I don't think it really matters. I think they're one of the least talented teams, but more talented than they were last year, and you bring back some experience. So could be a wild card. I think this is actually one of the better front courts in the conference. I like their front court a lot. I think they're definitely going to be able to win some games. They really just struggled at the line last year, so they're going to be able to need to improve that to win those kind of squeaky, tight games that we all know and love and what we bet for. So I think their size is definitely an advantage, and their experience could definitely do some damage and win some games for West Georgia for sure as well. So you bring in a JUCO transfer and Shelton Williams Dryden. I really think he's going to be making a positive impact immediately to this conference. So yeah, West Georgia could be a wild card, but probably still down at that bottom barrel of the conference, but definitely a major jump than they did last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be, significantly better than last year, given what they were last year. I'm not saying they're going to be contending or anything like that, but 3 returning starters, your coach is back, and they did bring in some shooters to help out on the offensive end. I mean, one of the guys had 59 threes or something last year, which is 21 more than anyone on the team. So that's going to help, especially with their outside shooting. And like you said, they brought in some size for down low. I really think that's where their shining part of this team is going to be down low with those big men. So I think they'll be able to play a respectable defense, but it's still the offense. You brought in like 2 guys that really have any experience or are brought in to help on the offensive end. We'll see how they do, but I think this team will be better, but I think they'll win, 8 or 9 games at most. I don't see them going crazy and winning 14 games in this season and finding themselves kind of making noise in the ASUN quite yet. But and to your point, they had 71 minutes last year when they came up to D2. Now they have 239 combined starts in games and 119 combined starts on this roster. So the experience is vastly different this year than what it was last year. So I think they'll be improved, but I still think the offense is going to be the main struggle for this team.
Elliot.
Yeah, so I'm kind of higher on West Georgia this year. I think Coach Moore kind of made a bold move last year, and he redshirted 3 of his scholarship freshmen, and so that kind of got them left them kind of shorthanded for the entire year because he had redshirted those. And kind of his idea behind that was to, get some depth and create some depth, and also create just some experience. And I think he did that. One of those redshirt freshmen is 6'9" forward Kenneth Chime, and I think they're expecting him to take a significant leap forward this year. And then you also look, like you guys said, they emphasize size in the portal, but I also think they emphasize the experience as well. They brought in Matasia Zuzic from UT Martin, Micah Smith from Georgia Southern, and another graduate senior, Colton Griffin, as well. From the D2 ranks. So he kind of emphasized a lot of not only size, but also Division I experience. And then another thing that I think that he's got going for him is the fact that last year they only played 2 games at home in the non-conference schedule. Just kind of the beast of being at your first year in the Division I level. You kind of got to go everywhere. Get the money and kind of run in a sense. So this year they actually are their non-conference schedule is split 6 at home, 6 on the road. So whereas they were 2 at home, 10 on the road last year, I think that didn't bode well for them to kind of start out their first year in the D1 with almost like a SWAC type non-conference schedule, just being on the road so much. So not only were they on the road so much, but they're also shorthanded. So yeah, I expect the moves that he made last year and the ability to play a little bit more home games in the non-conference to get themselves ready for ASUN play. Because we saw, at the end of ASUN, they were getting wins. They were picking some teams off as the season went on, and so I kind of think that they're just going to kind of use that and build upon it this year. So I feel I might be a little higher on the Wolves than some people. But the only thing that sucks is they've got 2 more years left of this transition period. So it's like, if they do, end up finishing pretty reasonable, and there's some guys that are talented and make some impressions on some people, they might be losing a lot of those guys that they decided to redshirt just because of the fact that they can't reach the NCAA tournament for a couple years. Oh shit.
All right. That is the Pump Fake Pod ASUN preview. That is at Pump Fake Pod. Thanks for the chat tuning in. We still got to do our predictions. We just went through alphabetical teams in alphabetical order. Now we're going to be chopping up here our top 12 in the ASUN, bottom up, and then we'll dive into the Big South here, and we'll have all timestamps recorded for you to click through these teams if you missed any previews. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe this video. It'd be greatly appreciated. And thanks from the chat. Feel free to haze us. So we just did our ASUN preview. I'll go ahead and kick us off with the number 12. The North Florida Ospreys will be at the bottom of the conference in 12th. You're on mute, buddy.
Yep. No, I got West Georgia finishing at the bottom this year.
I've got North Florida as well. I'll co-sign with you, Huff.
All right. I got Central Arkansas finishing 11th.
Central Arkansas. All right. I got Bellarmine finishing at the basement here, or right above the basement.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Trevor, on this one. I got Bellarmine at number 11.
Number 10 for me is Bellarmine. I think Davenport will get hopefully something going in his first year.
Yep. I'm gonna go North Florida here for myself.
Yeah, number 10 for me, Stetson.
Number 9 for me is Stetson. I think it's an improvement on last year. You got a good talent in Jamie Phillips Jr., but it's not always one guy, as we know, especially in conference play in a game of attrition come March.
Yeah, for me here, I have Stetson.
For number 9 as well?
Yes.
Number 9 for me is going to be West Georgia.
So, you said you weren't as high as on West Georgia as some people. Well, I guess I'm higher. West Georgia, number 8 for me.
I like it.
Number 8 for me is going to be Lipscomb.
Number 8 for me is going to be Central Arkansas. You guys are a little bit lower on them. I'm a little higher on them.
All right, Central Arkansas. It's always good. Yeah, number 7 for me is Lipscomb. Middle of the pack.
For me, I've got Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, number 7. I'm gonna have to go with Austin Peay here.
I like it. I like it. All right, I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Jacksonville in the 6th spot.
Yeah, I have Florida Gulf Coast here in the 6th spot.
I'm gonna change mine a little bit. I'm going Jacksonville at 7. Sorry, and then I'm gonna go Austin Peay at 6. Sorry about that.
Oh, dude, don't worry about it. You're okay. Number 5 is Florida Gulf Coast for me. I like what Pat Chambers can do. Don't know if their talent and depth can last as long as these other teams.
Yeah, for me, I got 5 is Lipscomb. I think they're going to take a step back, but I think it's going to be surprisingly not as deep or not as big of a step back as what some people think.
Some people.
I got Jacksonville.
Number 4 for me is Austin Peay, the Governors. A rump for the Governor.
Yep, me and you are the same. Austin Peay.
At number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 4 here, I've got North Alabama.
Number 3 is North Alabama for me.
I, too, have North Alabama.
3 for me is Florida Gulf Coast.
And 2 for me is going to be Queens. And 1st for me is Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels.
Oh, shit, I miscounted my my list because I have Queens 1.
I think the Queens is the most talented. I think Eastern Kentucky will get it done, but Queens wins the conference tournament for me. I got Queens advancing to the NCAA tournament like we talked about.
Oh, shit, I forgot to put Central Arkansas on this list. Yeah, so I have North Alabama 2, Queens 1.
You have North Alabama 2, Queens 1. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to go with EKU number 1. AK Hamilton and AW Hamilton there. And then I've got, which means my number 2 is going to be Queens. So kind of similar to Huff's in that top 2 spot.
Top 12.
All right. I have to,
yeah. Go ahead and list your top 12.
All right. Where's my list here? Yep. Bottom top. I got West Georgia. Then I have Central Arkansas, then West Georgia. Sorry. Bellarmine, North Florida, Stetson, Lipscomb. And then I stopped typing it in. Go figure. I got to run it back. I've fucked this list up by forgetting Central Arkansas, but I will have it all right up on that graphic, and then I will probably be back. We got 4 games for tomorrow, so I will more than likely be joining back.
All our graphics can be found at Twitter at Pump Fake Pod. They'll be all ranked there. I'll go ahead and do mine top to bottom. Number 1, Eastern Kentucky. Number 2, Queens, but I think Queens wins the NCAA tournament, or may have.
Whoa,
Go
book
for it.
it. Plus
Yeah, book it.
5,000.
Wins the A-Sun tournament. And then 3, North Alabama, the Lions. 4, Austin Peay. 5, Florida Gulf Coast. 6, Jacksonville. 7, Lipscomb. 8, West Georgia. 9, Stetson. 10, Bellarmine. 11, Central Arkansas. And 12, North Florida for my Atlantic Sun. Like I said, Eastern Kentucky wins the regular season. Queens wins the conference tournament.
For me, number 1, A.W. Hamilton and the Colonels of Eastern Kentucky. Number 2, Queens. 3, Florida Gulf Coast. Hopefully we bring back Dunk City. 4, North Alabama. I think the loss of Jakari Lane makes them drop a little bit. 5, Lipscomb. Small step back, but not as big as some people think. 6, Austin Peay and their phony-ass fake Army guy. 7, Jacksonville. 8, Central Arkansas. 9, West Georgia. 10, Stetson. 11, Bellarmine. Sorry, Max. 12, North Florida.
Yeah, shout out Max. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, EKU at 7. Trevor's out of his fucking mind. Excuse my French. Redman, thanks for tuning in. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. Raymond, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Hazes. We're going to be moving into the Big South now. This conference, Big South, a lot of CAA members started in this conference, but there are some OGs, of course. So I do love this conference personally, but it's a quick one. We just did 12 teams. There's only 9 teams in the Big South, so we will be running through this quicker than normal. Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers, they beat Jim Larinaga and the Hurricanes last year.
I can't believe that still.
Last season, 10-20. Big South, 6-10. Finished 7th under Sa Nimley, 18-37. 2 years with 1 returning starter. Elliot, you kick us off, and I'm tired of leading, so you kick us off here and give us the Charleston Southern Big South opinion.
Why are you tired of leading?
Tired of leading. I love it. I'm just I need to burp because I'm drinking too much beer.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the good point of Charleston Southern beating Miami, but then what? They follow that up and have a disappointing Big South showing, 7th out of 9 in particular. And I think one of their big pieces that for them this year, I know that they kind of lost their big star from last year, Taj Kelly. Cool. Awesome story of him just kind of sticking with one school for all 4 years. It's kind of what I wanted Jakari Lane to do there at North Alabama. But they're going to definitely miss Kelly's impact on the team, but they do get Alan Sumler back. He missed last season because of injury, 6'3" guard, averaged 14 points, 3 rebounds, and 1.5 assists the year prior. So I really feel like, they kind of lost one of their big stars, but also got one back from the year prior. And then you look at a couple of other veteran kind of backcourt members that they have. Luke Williams, he's another 6-foot senior, came from D2 Maryville, and then a 6'5" kind of redshirt junior came from Gulf Coast State. So they've got some experience there at the backcourt level. But then we kind of look, I think they take a little bit of a step back there in the front court. Don't think that they're as deep at the front court and even as deep at the back court as well. I think that's something that they might struggle with this year. Hard to say. Charleston Southern is always kind of just a weird team to me. Their gym's kind of weird. I always like everything about Charleston Southern. I don't know. I just get this weird feeling about the school, the program as a whole. Not sure what to really think about them here in kind of this Big South Conference. I will say the Big South Conference seemingly has, kind of that disparity generally of that kind of like top 5, 6 teams, and then you have that bottom 3 or 4 teams. And I think that they're going to stay within that bottom 3 or 4 teams this year. And yeah, I agree, Raymond. It seems like fake program. What was that football? That football school, that the fake high
Bishop
school football?
Sycamore.
Yeah, seems like the Bishop Sycamore of NCAA basketball. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't like they rarely ever get talked about. You watch them and it's just weird. I don't know. So I don't really know what to think about them. I don't think that they're gonna be, like I said, I think they're gonna be bottom 3 because there's that definite discrepancy between kind of that top 5, 6 of the Big South and then that bottom 3.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you here. I mean, definitely a major win last year, but at the end of the day, it really wasn't. It was a fallen program. But, I really I think Charleston Southern definitely has talent on this team, but they lack depth, which is just never a good thing here in conference play. So I think they'll be struggling at the bottom half yet again. So, yeah, fake program. Those Pirates are fake. It's a fake thing. They pirate anyway, so it's all fake. Gardner-Webb, the Bulldogs out of Boiling Springs, North Carolina. Last season, 11-20, 5-11 in the Big South under Jeremy Luther's first year, and he brings back nobody. So maybe a good thing after a tough first year. So, but he does get to a system somewhat with people that are staying as coaches in this conference. So, and you do bring back only a few returning pieces. One being Jacob Hudson in the backcourt and Colin Hawkins as well, who's going to have to take a major step up into a more prominent role, like we always like to talk about, and see if they're able to at all. I think talent-wise, they're definitely going to be kind of struggling as well. But you bring in a transfer from St. Francis and Ace Talbert. I think Ace Talbert's going to be one of the better players in this conference as well. He had 17 points against Clemson. Almost 20 points a few times as well. And then you bring DJ Jefferson from Longwood. So coming in the Lancers, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. So love a good intra-conference transfer. And then you also have all these JUCOs and D2 players stepping in. So I think Gardner-Webb, talent-wise, is good in the backcourt. They definitely lack size and experience, but they have some talent. Trevecca Nazarene, another time we're going to mention that. They have Navon Peterson coming in for Gardner-Webb as well. So I think Luther understands that he has talent, but he's going to be able to have to work with what he got and finds that gel and mold. So you know what? Not many people are too high on Gardner-Webb. I think they actually have some chance to get going come Big South play after a tough non-conference.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days that, you see Gardner-Webb and you immediately think of this kind of tough, physical, hard-nosed, big up front with a huge front court. They're super aggressive, super physical on the defensive end, and it just did not translate last year. I fell for that trap numerous times, and it was hard for Luther. He had a lot to replace. And then again, obviously this year was 0 returning starters. He again has a lot to replace. But like you said, I think this may be more of an addition by subtraction type of a situation rather than, losing a lot of people and having it be a big issue for them. You mentioned DJ Jefferson, Coach Luther. He's been part of the program there at Gardner-Webb for 13 years, I think. And he said of his 13 years, he is definitely the most talented player that he's recruited there. So interesting to see that Longwood kind of let him go and let him kind of transfer within the conference to Gardner-Webb there.
Probably locker room issues.
Yeah. And, but it's hard to say with Gardner-Webb. We've talked about it a lot of just those teams that really, are bringing in just a whole bunch of new players, and how is that going to translate? How is that going to gel? You bring in, like you said, Ace Talbert, DJ Jefferson. The rest of the guys that they brought in are mainly from the D2 ranks. But not only do they have a whole new team, but Gardner-Webb itself has they got a whole brand new president, they got a whole new athletic director. So not only are they starting fresh with a brand new basketball team, but they're starting fresh just from the top down of the entire school and athletics program. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they're like you said, a wild card when it comes to this Big South. And I really personally, I really don't know where to put them, and I don't know what to think. It's going to be one of those things where, yes, at the very beginning of the season, it's going to be very tough, especially with all those new pieces that they brought in, and so it's going to be kind of a wait and see for me to really see if they're going to be able to be one of those teams, kind of at that middle of the pack there in the Big South, or if they're going to kind of fall in line to a similar path to what they were last year.
All right. The Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb. Heard it here first. A little mixed opinions here, and maybe a little wild card team in the Big South. High Point, the Panthers at a High Point, North Carolina last season, 29-6, 14-2, made an NCAA tournament appearance and was the only upset. Or no, Clemson lost to McNeese State. They lost to Purdue in the first round, and then Alan Huss goes to Creighton to take kind of the soon-to-be associate head coach and soon-to-be head coach for the Blue Jays to get Greg McDermott kind of grooming him up to be the Blue Jays coach. So you bring back one returning starter, but it's not really, just kind of a rotational person. But you do bring back a red shirt and Maverick Miller, which I think he's going to be an absolute prominent piece right away. And then you dive right into the transfer portal. Flynn Clayman does right away. So you bring in Scotty Washington from CSUN, UMKC, and Bob Cargiallo as well too, which I think they're going to be just immediate upsides. So a lot of talent. I think the name of High Point, the NIL, that for a lower end school, it's really attracting. And I think no matter who steps into that position, it's attracting for the coach and it's attracting for the player as well too, to join the Panthers. So I think this team's got a lot of depth. They're going to be just as much as winners. Don't know if I think they're going to be overvalued at the beginning of the season, but come Big South play, they're going to be dominant, of course, and just focused on winning. So let's see if Clayman can get those jitters and replace Huss and big shoes to fill for the Panthers. But yeah, I think talent wise, they definitely have the pieces to compete at the top of this conference yet again.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Coach Clayman, he was the associate head coach last year, so he just kind of steps up and fulfills that role. They hire from within. I think it was a good hire. I do agree with Raymond. I think that was kind of a weird, bizarre kind of.
Creighton's like there was a quid pro quo, like, hey, McDermott's like, hey,
he's going to be going in a few years or something.
Yeah, like let me teach you my system and what to do for Creighton and how to be successful at Creighton. And
there's something going on just because with the funding and just the backing that High Point has, that's one of the better mid-major programs to be at. So it was definitely bizarre. I agree, Raymond. But yeah, he's got to have something, like you said, a quid pro quo, something like that with Creighton. But good opportunity for Coach Chapman, for Coach Clayman to kind of come in and take over for him after being his associate head coach. And I think they're even though they returned one starter, they definitely brought in a lot of solid pieces from the portal, mostly from the mid-major ranks. But that kind of shows you maybe the money that they have there at High Point to bring in a lot of talented mid-major players. Rob Martin is one from Southeast Missouri State. He's a transfer, averaged 15 a game last year, shot 40% from
baby. Let's go, Rob Martin.
And another one, I guess it's the second night in a row, but I'm going to shout out a former IUPUI guy. Last night it was, Jalen Counter. Today it's Vincent Brady II. He was actually coming off from
IU Indianapolis, baby. Respect.
He was coming from Missouri State this time, but he was formerly at IUPUI. But yeah, 13.5 points per game there at Missouri State. They're in the Missouri Valley. And then you had mentioned, Babacar Diallo. I watched him up close and personal at UMKC last year. And Scotty Washington, another guy, CS, Cal State Northridge, another guy averaged 15 points a game. So, you look at that, he brings in 3 guys from the kind of the mid-major ranks in some pretty solid conferences that averaged, anywhere from 13 to 15 points. So they definitely reloaded talent-wise and production-wise in regards to that. And then you had mentioned Braden Housen. Just got to shout out Brendan Housen, his older brother. Was with K-State last year, transferred out. But we'll see how Braden can play. I know he's not the player that his brother is, but he's definitely one of those kind of streaky shooters, can really shoot the ball as well. From Amarillo, Texas. But yeah, I think that just all the pieces that they brought in just shows you the type of money that they have there within the program. And I just think it's kind of a reload with the talent, and they've got a good system. They're not losing that system with the associate head coach assuming the role. So I would expect for High Point to be at or near the top of the conference again this year.
High on the Panthers. High on that perp. Longwood Lancers out of Farmville, Virginia last season, 18-14, 7-9 though, kind of disappointing in the Big South, tied for 5th. And Ronnie Thomas in his 2nd year, so I think we're going to see some type of an improvement just with the 2nd-year coach. Best front court probably in the conference as well. Sorry,
it's his first year.
Sorry,
it's Ronnie Thomas's first year.
Oh, it's his first year, so apologies there. But still, either way, definitely has brought in.
You got it right on the slide.
Oh, apologies. Just read it wrong, but going crazy a little bit. But yeah, Ronnie Thomas, I think he's a proven winner. I think first year he's going to be super solid. I think he transitions a ton of talent over, dives into the portal well, and also retains some talent from Longwood last year. That are going to be immediate impacts. And one of my favorite gyms as well, too. I'll see if he implements the system of kind of that ground and pounds kind of style of play that the Lancers have done. But I think they're going to have to, because they have one of the better front courts in the system. I think Ronnie Thomas is going to bring a ton to Longwood. That was kind of what they were missing last year. And they'll definitely stay at the top half of this conference for the Big South. I really like the Lancers this year. And to be a little more competitive and win more conference games than they did last year.
Yeah, I think this is another hire from within. Ronnie Thomas was with them last year, and I think that they did a similar good thing of hiring from within. Good program, solid philosophy, solid coaching. So the fact that Aldrich left, I think it was well within reason for them to hire Coach Thomas here in this spot. I will say, I don't think Raymond mentions that this is kind of very bizarre. I don't think it's necessarily as bizarre as Huss leaving, just because Aldrich left because Ryan Odom got that job at Virginia, and he's college teammates with Ryan Odom, and they're really good friends.
But so you get offered a chance at the Creighton job. I think you'd suffer through a year or two of being an associate head coach, though. I don't know if it's as bizarre as we think it is. Just seeing the writing on the wall, I guess. But not as bizarre as.
But I feel like Aldrich just makes sense to me, in the fact that Ryan Odom leaves, goes to Virginia, and then just basically recruits his one of his best friends and college teammates to come work with him at a Power 5 at the Power 5 level. So I don't necessarily, personally, I don't think it's as bizarre in a sense with that. But I agree with you. I think Longwood is going to be right there. I think 5th is probably last year was maybe a little bit of a underachieving year for them. I think that they would not be very happy with how they finished there in the Big South. It can kind of get congested from that, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, even upwards to the 1 through 6 is kind of a log jam, in my opinion, with just the talent and how close some of these games are. But I think it's one of those things where we'll see if Ronnie Thomas is going to be able to get the most out of his kids like Ulrich was, and I think he can. So I would expect the Lancers to have another successful season, finish above 500 in the overall, and then I think their goal is definitely to finish near the top of the conference and finish somewhat with a record of like a 10-6 or better. So we'll see if they could make that happen.
Yeah, we will certainly see if they can make that happen. I think they definitely can.
Yeah, I will say their front court is one of the better front courts, I think.
I think it's the best in the conference.
In the Big South.
That's what I said. Yeah, I think it's definitely the best in the conference, and
I
there's
think
a lot of good front courts also in this Big South. So that's saying something.
Yeah, I think that maybe there could be an argument that High Point, I don't know, talent-wise, maybe has a better front court. But I think they're right there, them and Longwood for sure. And this next team too.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Presbyterian, the Blue Hose out of Clinton, South Carolina. Last season, 14-19, 7-9 in the Big South, tied with Longwood under Quentin Farrow, who's picked this program up. This was a 5-win, 6-win team program. So shout out to Quentin Farrow for getting this team somewhat up, and you bring back some continuity as well with 3 returning starters. Yeah, I like their front court. They got some of the better size in this conference, and they're not only just focusing on trying to win now, but also bringing in pieces that are younger as well. So Farrell knows the scheme. He knows the system of kind of that growth that you have to go as people start to taper off and you bring in freshmen. I think he completely understands the game there, and he plays it pretty well. And I think he's done a really good job for the Blue Hose as well. So I don't think they should go in with tons of expectations. I know that they definitely are, because I think this is one of their higher expectations season, even though they're probably only middle of the conference. But they're normally at the bottom half of this Big South and the bottom of the barrel. So don't go into it too shooting high for the moon. Aim low, execute high. So yeah, I like the Blue Hose. I think they'll be feisty at times, but just kind of lack execution like we saw last year, and injuries certainly plagued them in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're typically usually at the bottom of the conference here in the Big South. Like I had said earlier, it's one of those things where that bottom 3 teams are kind of usually all the same 3 teams. And we saw kind of Presbyterian kind of get out of that, take a step up, and we saw a team that's normally at the top in Gardner-Webb fall back, and finishing 5th there in the conference, I think was the highest that they finished in program history. So that's just awesome for them. And they bring back a lot of their pieces from last year. And, also in the fact that you also bring back Jonah Pierce, who was injured last year just after 8 games. Before he left with injury, he was averaging 13 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, shooting at a ridiculous 67% from the field. So now you're getting him back, and you also, you not only do you get him back at the forward position, he was 6'10", 235, so we want to talk about size, but you also bring in who kind of filled in for him with Jalen Peterson. He was a guy that averaged 6 points, 6 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks, shot 56% from the field. So, like you said, he was one of those. This is another one of those teams that has a great front court. With the fact that you're returning a guy that basically fit in for what they thought was going to be their guy at forward, who ended up getting injured, and now you've got both of them healthy. So I think that definitely bodes well for them. It's one of those things where the only thing that I'm nervous about for them, I'm just looking at the team as a whole, where we always talk about how guards there at the end of the game can kind of take over the games, and I'm not sure that their guard play is up to par with some of these top teams in the conference. And so I think that that's probably why they end up in kind of a similar position and aren't able to be as competitive, with getting kind of that top 4 spot in the Big South. I think, they're going to be able to hold their own in the front court. However, when the game comes down at crunch time, when you need some buckets, you need guys to control the basketball and make good decisions. I just think that there's some other teams that are going to be better in the backcourt. That's going to kind of allow them to prevail over Presbyterian. But excited for them, man. I mean, like I said, like you said, they're in the cellar, and like they usually are, and they took a significant step forward here in the last couple of years. So excited for them, and hopefully that they can kind of repeat. I think repeating tied fifth is going to be would be a win for them. I think they would. I don't think that they necessarily celebrate it, but they're not going to be disappointed with another fifth in the Big South.
Absolutely, gotta agree there. Radford Highlanders out of Radford, Virginia, last season 20-13, 9-7 and fourth, and year one for Coach Zach Chu and a whole new system as Darius Nichols takes the jump over to LaSalle, like we mentioned last night. And he's a good coach. Definitely was a transition year in his first year at Radford, but got them to be winners and was a 20-win team last year. I'll be interested to see how this team goes. I'll be honest. I don't know what to say. I think Radford's a good program, so programs do matter. We talk about that all the time, but I mean, a tough non-con early on in the season. I think Chu's going to get hit in the face there for sure. But I think they'll have somewhat of success. I think they lack depth as compared to other teams that we've talked about with tons of depth. Excuse me. You bring in a transfer from Minnesota, Tulane, and Dell Jones, Brennan Rigsby from Minnesota, Dennis Parker from NC State. So some solid P5 programs coming in. Jalen Johnson from Tennessee Tech, Tyson Brown from Georgia Southern. So kind of all over the place with transfer portals. So I think this team's a total wild card, but knowing that they're a consistent program, I think they're definitely still going to be a winner. But first-year coach definitely kind of scares me. I think Chu's a good coach, so not necessarily untrustworthy of him, but just first-year coach going into the Big South. But a lot of first-year coaches in this conference, which could fare well with him. And, the donors of Radford want to see an NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna be seeing an NCAA tournament bid this year. In Chu's first year as a head coach, only 32 years old. A lot of pressure to put onto a guy that's taken over for Darius Nichols there, who did a great job at Radford. So he's got a lot of pressure to repeat the success. And it's one of those things where he was chief strategist for Andy Enfield there at SMU. And so they also he was kind of the chief strategist in the NBA.
Huh?
What?
Handle this guy.
Yeah. So it's one of those. He was also with the Dallas Mavericks and your Indiana Pacers as the chief strategist as well. So really, I don't really know what to expect. I mean, you would think that if you're a strategist, does that translate well to a coach, or is he just going to rely upon his assistant coaches? To make that. But you look at the assistant coaches and you've got a young staff, couple of them, one graduated in 2019, another graduated in 2015, 2012, 2013, and 2004. So, you're looking at young coaches across the board in their 30s. Marcus Jenkins, the top assistant there, in his 40s. So it's like, what do you expect from Chu, and like you said, it's a complete wild card because maybe he can be a hell of a coach, but we haven't
you need the foul here actually, because actually this puts us in a proponent to have a better percentage of efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, you're going to see one of those teams that he's going to literally be like, all right, you're either shooting layups or you're shooting threes, and you're going to have this team just literally jack up a shit ton of threes and shoot a bunch of layups because the analytics say to do so. So I don't know. I just don't know what to expect. I'm right there in the same boat with you. You had mentioned all of the guys that they brought in the portal, but really, I think the biggest question mark is Coach Chu himself. I think that's what I don't. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, and so I just the one guy I would be a little bit high on just looking at transfer wise would be that guy from Tennessee Tech, Jalen Johnson. I mean, he's going to be their point guard. Averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists last year at Tennessee Tech. I think he's going to be kind of the really driving force for their offense, and everything's going to kind of start with him. But yeah, I don't know what to expect. I don't know if Chief strategy is going to translate into being a successful head coach in a pretty competitive Big South conference, and so I am going to kind of err on the side of caution here and just kind of put Radford taking a small step back. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4.
I think it's going to be somewhat of an experiment. I think we're going to see some testing at the beginning of the season. I think the intangibles part is definitely a worrisome for two versus the understanding of the game. I mean, he's definitely got a good track record, but he's going to be thrown right into the fire as they go to North Carolina and the Tar Heels, and goes to SMU as well too to face off against Andy Enfield.
Yeah, and I mean he played for Chris Mooney at Richmond, so obviously he's got a good background in terms of being coached by
knows what intangibles are. Yeah, but can you execute them is another story. And rally
it's different
locker room.
It's different
as we know.
It's different being a player with a great coach, and then becoming, instead of a player, becoming the coach, coaching the great players or the players.
Right.
So.
All right. UNC Asheville, always a good program. The Bulldogs.
R.I.P. Drew Pember, man. I wish he was still there. I shouldn't say R.I.P., but
I really thought he died. Last season, what did I miss? Last season, 21-11. Big South, 11-5, tied for second. Mike Morrell, 116 and 79, 7 years, one returning starter for the Bulldogs. This program wins. This program knows how to win regardless of talent that walks in this door. We all know that, and they always have been a good team transfer portal wise as well too, and getting talent into the door as well. So you bring back runner up for defensive player of the year in Toaz Solomon, who can play both sides of the ball with 15.7 points per game, which is always good. And then a transfer from New Mexico and Daniel Thomas, David Erme's belt from UTSA, which is fantastic. Love the Road Runners. We'll be talking about them, I believe, here shortly. Or did we already? I can't even remember. They're AAC, right? Yeah, they're AAC. We'll talk about them tomorrow. And then Justin Wright, you bring in a transfer from Loyola Marymount. So talent-wise, I think they're definitely going to be good. They always are a size team that focuses on that, and that's kind of the system that's been built under Morrell. So I think there's definitely going to be some issues at the beginning of the season, but Big South, they're always competitive, and it's a tough place to play as well too. So yeah, I like UNC Asheville. They're always competitive. They're just going to continue to be competitive as well.
Yeah, with the fact that Aldrich left for Virginia now makes Coach Morrell the longest tenured coach in the Big South, which is kind of funny. When he's only 43 years old, been there for 7 years, now going on his 8th year, and it makes him the longest tenured coach. So it just kind of shows you the coaching turnover that they have there in the Big South. But yeah, I'm pretty high on them as well. Yet another team that, like you said, relies on a good front court. But then it's like, okay, well, we look at the people that rely on the front court now. Okay, we think that Longwood and High Point and even maybe Presbyterian have a better front court than them, so that might pose a few problems for them this year. But I do like Toaz Solomon, averaged almost 16 points a game. 7 rebounds, kind of was a stat stuffer, shot 61%. Runner up for Big South Defensive Player of the Year last year. I think that they're going to rely upon him heavily. And so looking forward to kind of seeing how he expands. I mean, it's going to be hard. Averaging 16-7. That's a pretty good stat line. So we'll kind of see what else he has left in the tank there. And then they just brought in some solid pieces there in the portal to just kind of fulfill some needs. Another guy that I'll kind of mention is Cameron Taylor. He was Big South Freshman of the Year runner-up last season, averaged 9 points.
2 runner-ups on the team. Wow.
Not only do they have, so 2 runner-ups, it's going to be, the runner-up for Freshman of the Year and the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. So the fact that he was able to keep both of those players also says a lot. I think they bring in a few guys. Justin Wright's another guy that I think will be
I like him.
One of those guys. He missed the season last year with an injury, but before then was at Loyola Marymount. Career kind of 38% 3-point shooter. So a guy that can really kind of expand the floor and help them out there in the backcourt. We've talked about the front court and how good that is, but they're still going to need some guards and even some guys that can just really knock down some threes on the outside to kind of open up the paint for them. So I think that they're going to be right there near the top, battling out, duking it out with these top 4 or 5 teams. And I agree with Raymond here. It's going to be a bloodbath, I think we'll talk about 1, maybe 2 more teams that maybe will be kind of at the bottom. And then 1 through 7, you're right, could be right there. Could be a lot of people finishing that 10-6, 9-7, 8-8 type of a range. Just everybody beating up everybody, especially with how good the home court is here in the Big South.
We talk about it all the time. I mean, in these leagues, if it's not so top heavy and not so bottom anchored, I like to call it, when we could see these lower half teams still having 6, 7, 8 wins, and a lot of teams around the 500 mark. So yes, numbers don't lie. I think I have to agree with that as well. I think this conference is wide open, but I'll tell you who is going to be in the anchor position. Don't care. Mark my words. USC Upstate, the Spartans out of Spartanburg last season, 6-26, 2-14 in the Big South. And Marty Richter will be doing it again, unfortunately, I believe. This is the least talented team in the Big South. I think they lack everything. Size, just shooting, getting into transition, and just athleticism compared to a lot of other these teams. I'm not, no disrespect to Richter. I think he definitely can get these guys going and back to USC Upstate. He brings back 2 returning starters, which is good. And Tyler Smith and Chico Johnson and Isaiah Skinner as well will be the returning starters. So, and then you bring in a JUCO transfer in Tyler Smith, and then a JUCO as well in Dylan Smith. So, or Dylan Novak. So, I think he definitely added some shooters. Could fare for some more wins, but spoiler alert, they're definitely in the bottom half and bottom 3 of these 9 teams in the Big South.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're bottom 2 for me.
Yes, they played good against South Carolina. I forgot about that. That is such a good call out, because they were they definitely covered whatever, 24.5 it was.
Yeah, no, they're definitely bottom 2 for me for sure in this league. It was a tough year for Richter, his first season as a Division I head coach last year. You expect for him to kind of learn and grow from that and maybe make take a little step forward. But even if they're going to get maybe a little bit better, I still feel like, they're 2-14 last year, last in the conference. Even if they do improve and go 4-12 or even 5-11, that's still going to put them in the bottom 2 of this conference. So they can take some strides and take some steps forward, but still kind of finish at or near the bottom of the conference. And that's kind of what I expect for them to do. It's another guy that I'll shout out. You shouted out Tyler Smith. I'll shout out Mason Bindinger, 6'4" junior, kind of a big-time scorer, had a 46-point game last year, was at Salt Lake Community College. So kind of the second time I'm shouting out Salt Lake Community College in tonight's show. So they must have had a decent squad last year with a couple guards that were averaging over 16, 17 points a game. But yeah, I think USC Upstate's going to be in the bottom two for sure.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. Not a big fan of this when your coach is talking about God doesn't make mistakes, so we're just going to figure out what's basically in store for us. I think that's just a nice way of saying your team sucks, and we're going to see what happens. They're just along for the ride this year. They did add that 7'1" kid, which I think will help at the rim, maybe getting some rebounds and keeping things out of the paint a little bit. But other than that, I don't see a whole lot of upside on this team to where they can really improve. I think they'll win 7-6 games again. I don't think this team is that talented, or maybe they'll find themselves on the road with South Carolina on the verge of a win. Who knows? It's college basketball at the end of the day. Teams always pop up for one usually, but I just don't see the talent that was brought in here other than that 7'1" kid. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of these guys, and what the coach is saying, it makes me sound like he's aware it's going to be a tough year. They're just going to be along for the ride and try to do the best they can. So Upstate bottom two for me too, if not probably bottom.
All right, and the ultimate team in the Big South, great program, the Winthrop Eagles out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, 23-11 last season. 11-5, tied for second in the Big South. One returning starter under Coach Mark Prosser, a great coach, 78-52, 4 years, and a career record of 115-107 in his 10 years. So I've always liked Prosser. I think he brings a good intangibles that the in between the lines stuff that we talk about a lot. You bring in some great transfers as well, some interconference transfers from Gardner-Webb and Charleston Southern, Coastal Carolina, so intrastate, Georgia Southern, Duquesne transfer, San Diego. So some good talent that I think could gel eventually. Winthrop's a known winning program. I got to be pretty high on them regardless. I think they'll be just fine, flirting above 500, but struggling to win games just with the a lack of familiarity. I think they'll be able to gel come the end of the year with a lot of talent, but they kind of have one of those teams that's kind of more role players that are versus the A guy or the guy. So, but I like the Eagles. They're always going to be a winning program, especially in the Big South, and they work with what they got. So, I think it may be a little step back record-wise, 23-11, but I gotta like Winthrop again, at least above the the 6 through 9 spot in Big South.
Yeah, first I'm just gonna say I don't understand how in the world you can blow that 21, blow that 15 freaking point lead.
And that was a great game for high point ticket holders. That was incredible.
I mean, with the team that Winthrop had, they'd been building for, and you give up a 21-4 run to end that and put High Point in the champion or the NCAA tournament. That was just ridiculous, and they lost a lot of people from that. That's apparent. However, like you said, Huff, they definitely reloaded. Surprisingly, with some intra-conference transfers, that not a lot of intra-conference transfers in the Big South. I don't know if that's just doesn't really happen as frequent or if it's kind of frowned upon, but Coach Prosser got a couple guys that really fit their system. And so I'm interested to see how those kind of guards that he brought in from Charleston Southern and Gardner-Webb translate to that Winthrop system. And I agree with you, another big guy, I say big guy, but a big addition who's small is 5'9" guard Kareem Rozier from Duquesne. Played 101 games there at Rozier. He's a 36% three-point shooter. I think he's another piece. Isaiah Wilson is supposedly going to be their starting point guard, but he's had some kind of injury issues. So I think that's kind of a bit of a backup plan if for if Isaiah Wilson can't struggles or is still dealing with some injuries. I think Rozier can kind of step up in that spot as the point guard. But yeah, proven program, proven winning program. Again, I expect them to be at or near the top of the conference as they typically are. Might, like you said, Huff, I like your insight. Might take them a little bit longer with just how many new faces that they have. So that overall record may be a little bit less. I can maybe see them being like a 18-19 win team, maybe not even getting that 20 win team just because of the lack of familiarity that they have with each other to start the season. But I also think, it might be tough for them to win 11 games in the Big South with just how talented 1 through kind of 6, 1 through even 7 is here. So definitely going to respect Winthrop, and I will put them near the top.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys say. I do think they take a step back, but they've added enough talent in the portal and freshman-wise, and the fact that Prosser has increased the last 3 years. They went from 15 to 17 to 23 wins last year. Now, I don't think they win 23 again, but I think they got the talent and the coaching to do that, and this has been a winning culture at Winthrop for a minute now. So I think, yes, they had a really great year last year. I don't think it's going to be a bad year this year. I think they just take a little step back. Still find themselves competing in the top 3 or 4 of this conference. But I like Winthrop, just like you guys said, and what I've been saying this entire time we've been doing this. When you add a bunch of new faces, it takes time. So I think it may be a little bumpy out the gate, but I think come conference play, they're going to have it figured out. They're going to be ready and make some noise again in the Big South here. So big fan of Winthrop, especially come conference play.
You kind of came in late. Do you have anything to add on any other teams that you'd like to focus on before we dive into our top 9 preview in the Big South?
We could just, excuse me, my bad. We could just roll right through the previews. Sure, you guys noted a lot more than I would have. I do basic notes. You guys note down the names and stuff. So,
all right, Trevor, you want to roll right into it? Kick us off 9 through 1 in the Big South.
9 through 1. It's going to have to be Upstate at the old bottom here.
Elliot.
Yeah, I'm on USC Upstate. They're at the bottom as well.
I will go ahead and match you guys and check. I will take the USC Upstate number 9. Trevor.
Oh shit! Yeah, my bad.
Right.
Number 8. I'm gonna have to go with Longwood. I am not a fan of this team this year whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a bad year for them.
Number 8 for me is sorry, go ahead, Elliot. Number 8. Doing the
You're good.
first one.
If you want it, you can get it.
Go for it, man.
Number 8 for me, kind of battling back and forth between Gardner-Webb and Charleston Southern. I'm just gonna go off of the fake phoniness that I feel of the AKA Bishop Sycamore, so I'll go Charleston Southern at number 8.
I'm joining you. Number 8's Charleston Southern for me as well. Trevor, number 7.
I got Charleston Southern at 7 here.
Elliot, number 7.
So as I said, I was struggling to see who's going to be number 8. So that means number 7 is going to be not Gardner-Webb. It's going to be Radford. I forgot about them. I think I'm not really high on Coach Chu, so I'm going to go Radford at number 7.
Interesting. Okay. Number 7 is going to be Winthrop for me. I think they're definitely respectful and can win. But oh shoot, I messed up. Number 7 is Gardner-Webb actually. Sorry. Well, and number 6 Winthrop. So there you go.
I got 6 as G-Dub, Gardner-Webb.
And who was your 7? Did you say that?
Yeah, it was Radford. Or did I get them flip-flopped?
Southern. Did you have Southern? Because you had Longwood at 8 or Longwood at 7?
I didn't even note down my thing. So I'm pretty positive I said Radford or Charleston. We got to run back the tape. whatever. They're both sitting there in the 7 and 6.
Yeah. So you're 5.
Oh, my 5. Give me
You said Upstate, Longwood.
Upstate last.
You said Upstate 9, Longwood 8.
Yep.
So who's your 7 and 6? We'll just do.
Oh, I thought I gave it out. Radford and then Charleston Southern.
Okay, boom. There you go. Elliot, go ahead with your 7 and 6.
7. So
I fucked up giving my Winthrop
you're
pick.
good.
So
I'm just gonna run through my last 4 real quick. USC Upstate, we all got that bottom. So I got USC Upstate 9, Charleston Southern 8, Radford 7, Gardner-Webb 6.
All right. 9 Upstate, 8 Charleston Southern, 7 Gardner-Webb, 6 Winthrop for me, and number 5 Radford.
5 for me. I have actually is going to be Presbyterian. I've got them finishing same exact as they did last year.
Prez for me too.
Number 4 for me is Presbyterian.
No, my go. Winthrop.
Yep, I got Winthrop here at number 4.
Well, is it my go?
3. I can go. Number 3, High Point.
You have 3 High Point. I'm debating 2 or 1. I'll put High Point at 3, given that they have a new coach. I think there might be a little bit of a step back, but still a proud program. I don't think they're going to be basement dwellers at all.
I've got Longwood at number 3.
All right, and number 2, I have Longwood, the Lancers, and number 1, I have UNC Asheville.
I've got Cashville sitting 1, and I missed a team somewhere now because I had Winthrop in there, High Point 3. Who the fuck was it? I fucked up this list.
Write it down.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down after this.
All right, I'll run through mine.
I know I have Cashville as 1. 1.
You can write it down based off my top 9. I'll go slow. Number 1.
Can I get my top 2 real quick?
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad, dude.
No, you're good. You're good. You're always just leaving me out. Feed me to the wolves. No, so I'm gonna. I got High Point number
Sparta,
1.
baby.
I got High Point number 1, then UNC Asheville number 2. So we're gonna kind of trade a little bit on that because you have UNC Asheville number 1, right, Huff?
Yeah, I have High Point number 3 though. So
and Longwood number 2, correct?
Yep. I'll run through it. 1, UNC Asheville. 2, Longwood. 3, High Point. 4, Presbyterian. 5, Radford. 6, Winthrop. 7, Gardner-Webb. 8, Charleston, and 9, USC Upstate.
Yep. For me, I have number 1, High Point. 2, UNC Asheville. 3, Longwood. 4, Winthrop. 5, Presbyterian. 6, Gardner-Webb. 7, Radford. 8, Charleston Southern. 9, USC Upstate. I think you missed Gardner-Webb, by the way, Trevor. I don't know if you mentioned them.
It's a G-dub. I know I missed a team somewhere when I got to the end there. I'm going to go down after this and write them down because I was all over the place. But I know it's Cashville first and Upstate dead last. Radford, the usual basement dwellers. I'm higher on Winthrop than Huff is, though. I think just winning culture will pay off.
No, I know. I have them at 6. I kind of wanted to put them at 5th, but I have them at 6. I think they're still going to be a winning program. You look at how the conference fared last year. Longwood was 18-14, and they finished 6th in the conference. They were 7-9, but we had High Point at 14-2. I think we see more teams around the 11-5, 10-6 mark, which kind of gets the top 6 to be
in that 500 or above record. I think the bottom three are known, and we know who the bottom three are. So I still think Winthrop will be a winning program under Mark Prosser, just kind of a step back a little bit executing wise.
I think we were talking about this, Trev. I think, even have the bottom two are kind of, we are kind of known. And then we talked about 1 through 7 is kind of a bloodbath. Because you can put Gardner-Webb, Radford. Now Presbyterian's got some solid pieces, a good front court. So that kind of puts them. Usually it's Presbyterian, Charleston Southern, and USC Upstate in the bottom, and then you have 1 through 6 duking it out. But I think with the addition of how Presbyterian's been a little bit more competitive, now you've got that 1 through 7. So we were talking about that before you came on. Just is going to be kind of a bloodbath between that 1 through 7.
Well, it always is in this conference every year. That's what makes it fun.
Yep, I have to agree with that. We'll leave it on that. This is the Pump Fake Pod. We just did the Big South preview. Right before that, we just did the Atlantic Sun. We've done 20 conferences now. All videos are recorded. And we always do this live. So we have 20 out of 32 conference previews, and then we'll start doing a couple future episodes, and then we'll be diving into the slate hardcore. I believe we start on a Monday this year.
Are you guys
Monday,
taking off of
November
work for that?
Monday, November 3rd.
Yep. 8 a.m. Eastern, first tip.
We'll be starting Monday, November 3rd. Don't need to take off work. I will be just.
I might.
We'll be starting. We should say not Monday, November 3rd. We'll be starting Sunday. November 2nd.
And that's what I was gonna say. So thanks for that. We're definitely gonna be starting Sunday night. So going over the Monday slate because college basketball starts Monday, November 3rd. So we'll dive into it. Raymond, thanks for the chat. Scat back, appreciate you. Connor, Max. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Thanks for chopping it up always with us. And this is Elliot Money, Trevor. I'm Michael Huffer, and we are the Pump Fake Pod. Make sure to like and subscribe. Give us a shout out and follow us on all socials at Pump Fake Pod. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow for just one preview, the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. So look out for that, and see you tomorrow.
Toodles.